Hello there everyone. So I'd like to just make this nice shorter video today, which is going to be something of an appetizer for the video that's coming up this Wednesday. And that video is going to be concerning the relationship between mythology and psychosis and what both can teach us about the mind's ability to shape imagery and narrative tracts in the mind. And as an approach to that, I just wanted to give you the definition that I use to interpret mythology, because that's going to be very important down the line when we come to talk about it in that later video. Now, the popular perspective on mythology is that myths are low-resolution ways of explaining reality. And the reason why we don't need myths anymore is because we have science to explain to us how the world works. Joseph Campbell actually said that the myth of our time is that we don't need myths. But this betrays the fact that a myth isn't there to give you a sophisticated explanation of the inner workings of a natural system. Its role is actually directed towards something more existentially pertinent. So what's my definition of mythology then? My definition of mythology is that a myth is a distillation of essential information communicated through an aesthetic narrative. A distillation of essential information communicated through an aesthetic narrative. So if we take that and work with it then, what is it actually trying to say to us? Well, the choice of words is always important with definitions. So let's look at the first one, distillation. Like I said, mythology isn't there to give us this all-encompassing, highly detailed recount of how natural systems work. That's never been the domain of mythology. Instead, it draws informational complexity down to what's essentially important and finds a way of reinterpreting that, relaying that through an aesthetic narrative, through a drama, we could say. And this could be something pertinent to many different systems of interest. They could be naturalistic, or they could be something more philosophical in nature, like Nietzsche's Thus Spake Zarathustra, for example. Or it may relate to something to do with the social codes of the time. Arthurian mythology gives these dramatized demonstrations of the notions of chivalry, for example. So mythology captures what is essential in complex systems and relates that information back to human minds through the body of an aesthetic narrative. The question might be, why? Why have humans chosen to convey this essential information through aesthetic dramas rather than solely rely through styles of conveyance that are less ambiguous and more direct? Well, the answer to that is quite simple. The human mind does not merely speak through language. In fact, it's debatable whether humans even communicated through language to begin with, or whether they actually thought and represented things imagistically, and then that lay the foundations for more abstract expressions like language to emerge. I personally share that view, but it's not something that we have a lot of direct evidence for. What we could say with more confidence is that the human mind speaks through images as much as it does through words, and it can creatively find multiple ways of representing the same phenomena back to its intelligence. And that's what a myth really is. It's a media representation of something that was experienced by another human being that gives us access to its insights as if we experienced them ourselves. And the incredible thing about human beings, which I think distinguishes us the most from animals, is that we have the capacity to take sensory information and translate that into new media, such as images and music and narratives, and even performative dance for that matter. And those representations award us access to new information, which pollinates directly from the art into our lives. In a strange way, myths allow us all to have the same dream. And when we come to know what that dream was speaking to, all of us can benefit from those insights. Given the fact that we've evolved to be sensitive enough to the ever-widening ocean of life's complexity, it's vital for us to be able to distill essential aspects of that complexity down into novel forms, which can then be accessed and understood by other human minds. And I think that's the brilliant thing about mythology, is its ability to take otherwise very complex ideas and distill them down into an inspired narrative that makes those ideas accessible to the human intuition. There's nothing in myth that was not first found in life, and we need myths to reflect back the essential information about life that can lend us insight into our own. So all myths, regardless of period and culture, communicate information that's essential to life in some way. And that's what gives myth its universal application, because something that was essential and meaningful to somebody living 4,000 years ago can still be essential and meaningful to somebody living today, even though they might be from a completely different culture than the one the myth originally arose from. So that's really all I wanted to say on the topic of my definition of mythology. I could go into a lot more detail with this. I want to go down tangents. I can feel myself wanting to go down tangents with it. But I want to keep this a very, very short video, like I said, as an appetizer for the one that's coming up on Wednesday. So I think I'll leave it there and just say thanks very much for watching. And as usual, I'll see you again in the next video on Wednesday.